What up, folks? It's your boy Trails, and we back with another one. And we got some more sports, but drama, action-packed issues to report on. And this one is Megyn Kelly versus Caitlin Clark. What am I talking about? Well, if you don't know, very recently, Caitlin Clark went on an interview with Time Magazine and said some things that has brought a lot of uproar to the white community. And we don't know if it's denialism or they just don't agree with it. We're not here to question the sentiment of it. We're here to explore it. So first we're going to look at what Megyn Kelly has just said about this situation. And then Caitlin Clark has also fired back at Megyn Kelly. And then we're going to go ahead and then look at an article about Sheryl Swoopes and her reaction to what Caitlin Clark said in the whole ordeal. Since she is like the GOAT of the WNBA, it's very important to hear what she got to say on the matter, because I don't really care about what Megyn Kelly has to say or even Caitlin Clark. So let's go ahead without further ado. And before I go ahead and start this, yes, I agree with what Caitlin Clark said. I support her sentiment. It showcases a very, very large scale of integrity, and I support integrity. I like honest people. I don't like people who like to be pick-me's or people who like to do little denialisms so they don't have to look themselves in the mirror or none of that. We don't do none of that over here. We keep it a stat. That's what I was born, bred, and built to be. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what Megyn Kelly's got to say first, and then we'll get to the other article.
Clark.
Yep.
So, Caitlin Clark of Iowa, but now playing for Indiana in the WNBA, gets honored in time as the Athlete of the Year. I don't know. I guess they need a lot of covers or something. I mean, whatever. I get they just want people who are going to sell. Indiana in the WNBA gets honored in time as the Athlete of the Year.
Why does she do the little, like already right there? She's already bringing the conversation into a negative connotation, because did she ever do that shrug the 100,000 times that Donald Trump has been on Time Magazine? I mean, it's Times Magazine's job to put people who are popping at the moment in front of the cover. Nobody else bitched about anybody else getting put on there, and I didn't see any questions for that. And it doesn't make any sense unless you have biases already against someone else, which she clearly does.
I don't know. I guess they need a lot of covers or something. I mean, whatever. I get they just want people who are going to sell their shitty magazine. So she gets selected.
So dump on them, disrespect them because they decided to give her an interview in a voice that you never decided to do and give.
As Athlete of the Year. And what does Caitlin Clark do? Like, this woman who's a superstar. She's the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. And she's become a phenom in part because the players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her. Why? Mm-hmm. Because she's white.
All right, now let's recap that. I want to make this very clear. So this is going to be full breakdown. You're more than welcome to go watch this on your own time. I ain't linking it because I got in trouble and almost got a strike for linking articles on my YouTube channel just to have a little, clear message of where I get my information from with the audience. But apparently YouTube didn't like that, and so hey, we quit doing that. But yeah, you can definitely go look this up on your own time. But let's go ahead and recap what she just said.
The players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her. Why? Mm-hmm. Because she's white.
So this right here is a recognition of racism against Caitlin Clark by other black basketball players. I want you to keep this one in your mind here as we continue.
It's abject, absolute racism. It's total racism. And one of the things that's been admirable about Caitlin is she just continues to play her game. and put points on the board. And she does very well, and she wins games, and she puts butts in the seats, and she sells tickets, and she gets people tuning in on television. And all really we want to hear from anybody about this is thank you. Thank you to Caitlin Clark for making our league relevant and so on. But instead, she's been bullied repeatedly by the players in this league. She's been assaulted physically. She's been scratched in the eye. And I mean, all of us is on camera. We've covered it repeatedly on the show.
So pretty much, hey, this white woman came into y'all black league, got y'all views, numbers, points on the board. You should be grateful for her. You shouldn't be racist. But how dare she come out and say or recognize the racism that the black women players have to deal with? I mean, it's not like Megyn Kelly is saying there's no racism at all across the board. She's pointing out specifically how the racism that Caitlin Clark gets to deal with, but at the same time doesn't want to humanize the racism that the other people deal with from people like her. You get what I'm saying here? This is what I want you to put together when you go ahead and listen to this. It's like, oh, first off, your magazine ain't shit. Y'all should be grateful she's in the league. You should be kissing her ass. All we want to hear from you is thank you. And you shouldn't be racist or anything towards her. But at the same time, how dare she turn around and say white people are racist? No, that can only be towards her.
So she gets this honor. And all she has to do is continue staying above it. Thank you. I'm grateful. Love being in the WNBA, and I love my colleagues who I play with, my teammates. That's it. Instead, she decides to go racial. And what?
But didn't Megyn Kelly just decide to go racial? We ain't even got to rewind it because we did it twice. She decided to go racial when explaining the situation about Caitlin Clark. But Caitlin Clark can't go on the interview and speak up for herself and her experiences and what she sees, because it doesn't align with her and what she wants the mass in the media to see. You get what I'm saying? And that's the denialism bullshit that I be talking about.
What she says is she feels the need to acknowledge her white privilege. Basically, she's sorry she's white. She feels really bad about it, though.
You don't really like that, do you, Megyn? Oh, you'll never do that. You'll never have the balls to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, well, hey, maybe, I mean, you could disagree. At least question it, right? At least question it. Don't be just, oh, I want you to look at things from a racial viewpoint of my standard, but how dare you dehumanize me in the same manner? Pretty much.
To go racial. And what she says is she feels the need to acknowledge her white privilege. Basically, she's sorry she's white. She feels really bad about it, though, so you should give her a pass. And then she makes a point of saying the ones we really need to be celebrating are the black women on whose backs this league was built.
Caitlin Clark just got a new fan. I didn't watch many of her games last year because, she was uplifted and heralded by that special privileged class. And now I'm going to watch every game. Every time she make a three, I'm going to do a flip. And I'm fat. So if I flip, it's important.
Which I have to tell you is so condescending.
It really
It's
is.
true that most of these black women have been bullying her and want her to understand it's their league. Hello, you don't own the league. Blacks don't own the league, just like whites don't own tennis or golf. Nobody.
Ooh, she is triggered. And it's sad, too, because, y'all see Megyn Kelly, but for some reason, I see Candace Owens. Her and Candace Owens, it's either Candace Owens does a really good job of studying her and mocking everything from her, or vice versa. I don't know. I think wasn't Megyn Kelly out here first though, so yeah. It's just creepy to me. It really makes my skin crawl. But yeah, you can see she's triggered, bruh. Look at her body language. Look at the white guys. They're like, look at him. He's like, yes, I hear you, man. This guy, he's got his eyes closed, like, oh no. This dude don't know what the hell is going on. Look at him. He trying to act like he paying attention. He thinking about, I don't know what he thinking about. But he ain't in the game.
Nobody owns the league. This is America. Anybody can play if they're good enough.
Nah.
But they want her on the knee. You'll bend the knee and you'll apologize for being white, and you will suck up to the black women who built this league before you, or you will be beaten. You will be assaulted and you will be bullied with no friends. So she does it. She finally did it. She bent the knee, self-flagellated over white privilege, and look at the black women in this league. And I have to tell you, if I were a black woman in that league, I think I'd say, screw you.
But you're not a black woman. And if you were a black woman, you'd probably be like, hey, you know, shout out to you, fam. Much love, much respect. You know what I'm saying? So you're not a black woman, so you don't get to speak for black women. And if you were a black woman, you wouldn't have no damn Megyn Kelly show with 4 white guys allowing you to be out of order with the bigger voice and control than them being just straight emasculated by your presence. Like they're little cuckolds, 4 little cuckolds watching a carrot, pretty much. So she needs to freaking chill.
Because don't treat me like I am the ugly stepsister and you are Cinderella, and no prince is going to look at me unless Cinderella says, oh, give her a little time. Oh, put her in the spotlight for a moment.
See, I don't want to go through too much of this because I don't want to get a copyright, but she's not really speaking much on it. She's just doing her little bitchy, fussy, let's speed it up because I want to see if she's actually got some type of point that could debunk what I'm saying, which I doubt. But, you know, you got to give people a chance. You know, it's just like poker. You got to give them a chip in the chair.
I would be offended, genuinely offended by her. Like, look over there. Look at them. They're not white. They did a lot, too. And here's the other thing. It's totally insincere. And here's how you know it's totally insincere. Because if Caitlin Clark really felt uncomfortable in the spotlight as the newbie who's white, because white people didn't build the league, she wouldn't have said yes to being Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year.
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if she believes she's earned the accolades to be, then she would show up. Plus, it's a bag. Let's not act like she didn't get a bag for going there and get the interview. At the end of the day, it's always about the bag. So, you know, you can call it stupid, dumb, all of this, but you never called it that when they had your people on the front of the cover. So you're being a hypocrite right now.
So either walk the walk or don't. But
I'm actually trying to speed this up to see what the men got to say, but I guess they're so muted and they're not going to say nothing because guess what? It ain't their show.
What you're doing here is trying to have it both ways. You're too...
Imagine if one of these men came out and said, you know what, I actually agree with Caitlin Clark. The next episode, it would be 3 Little Stooges. That guy would be out of there because he doesn't... These people aren't here to challenge her on a mental level. They're not here to convince the audience that, hey, you know, maybe this could be some truth in this. No, it's their way or the highway. This is all fabricated and trained into their message, which has no support, no care or concern for blackness. She even had the audacity to try to paint herself as a black woman and then tell you how she would react if she was a black woman, like she know what it's like to be a black woman. What does that tell you about this woman?
Cute by half, and you've managed to piss off your fan base. Go ahead and look at my Twitter feed and the comments under my tweet on this. She's lost thousands of fans, maybe more, as a result of this. And you will never appease the race bullies in the WNBA, ever, because you're...
Well, I'm going to quit that one. And yeah, she's wrong because she's already appeased me by pissing you off. To be honest, she's done more appeasing from that alone than any other WNBA player has. So, She also fired back at Megyn Kelly. Let's go ahead and listen to what she got to say about firing back at her.
Recently named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark is no stranger to headlines. As one of the most celebrated figures in sports, her rise from collegiate basketball dominance to the WNBA has been marked by record-breaking achievements and increased attention to women's basketball. But recently, political commentator Megyn Kelly stirred controversy by dismissing Clark's acknowledgement of Black WNBA legends in her Time profile as fake. Dismissing the claims, Clark.
She did more than dismiss the claims. She also brought up the claims that it is in fact Caitlin Clark who is being racist against by all the other black female players because she is white and she is so awesome. But she ain't awesome enough to get on Time Magazine and be, athlete of the year. That's just the gimmick, Good enough to be racist against, but not good enough to be on Time Magazine. So let's go ahead and make sure we add some more clarity into this article.
Influence on the WNBA extends far beyond her rookie status. The Indiana Fever star has increased the league's visibility and reignited conversations about its legacy and growth. The point guard's skills and competitiveness have drawn comparisons to some of the game's all-time greats. At the same time, her ability to generate record-breaking attendance figures has positioned her as a transformative figure in women's sports. Clark has consistently championed diversity and representation in the league, emphasizing the importance of honoring the contributions of Black women in helping shape the WNBA. "I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age," said the Fever guard. "My favorite player was Maya Moore. I know what this league was about. And like I said, it's only been around 25 plus years, so I know there's been so many amazing Black women that have been in this league, and continuing to lift them up, I think, is very important, and that's something I'm very aware of." However, Kelly's comments have highlighted how even positive strides can provoke a backlash. The WNBA All-Stars recognition of Black players, including her idols like Maya Moore, acknowledged these women's foundational role in building the league. But the TV personality and a group of others framed her remarks as disingenuous, igniting a polarizing debate on authenticity and respect in sports.
And she also shitted on Time Magazine. And she also emasculated 4 white men just to get her point across. I mean, it's just all... She crashed out. Megyn Kelly just crashed out. And I see no problem with what Caitlin Clark said. I actually see no problem with what Megyn Kelly said as far as the Caitlin Clark receiving the racist and backlash for her. Okay, I accept that. But you can't be one-sided. This is a two-way coin, heads or tails. You got to be able to look at situations in both ways. You don't just say, "Oh, I'm a Black woman, and as a Black woman, I would say this." I mean, you don't know any Black women in your life. You don't know what it's like to be Black. You haven't respected anything Black. You don't even wear the color Black.
A constant issue. Being a white athlete, the Iowa Hawkeyes product's entry into the WNBA has also magnified the racial undertones in sports discourse. Her debut season coincided with a surge of racialized narratives, particularly during her face-off with LSU's Angel Reese in the 2023 NCAA tournament.
And for the whole season, how much was that played against by everybody? It was the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark show. There wasn't no individual effort to look at these people and celebrate them and watch them improve as they grew into the sport. It was automatically Bloods versus Crips, Yin versus Yang, Black versus white. So no white people even gave Angel Reese a chance. There was many of them, and there's tons of YouTubers who got videos breaking down every analytic of every layup, every rebound, doing anything they can to scream bloody murder and to put Caitlin Clark at the top of her. And it was all based on just one polarizing thing: skin tone.
While players celebrated their intense competition and mutual trash talking as part of the game, social media amplified racist interpretations, painting Reese as a thug and the Iowa star as a victim, especially after Reese made a "you can't see me" gesture at the point guard. For her part, the 22-year-old Fever superstar refuses to be drawn into the divisive rhetoric. "I feel like one of my best skills is just blocking things out. The only opinions that I really care about are the people I love, my teammates, my coaches, the people inside of our locker room, the people that I see every single day that I know have my best interests at heart. With the way things are going, you want that attention and you embrace it, and that's what makes this so fun," Clark said. This dynamic has followed the Fever star into her professional career. As she continues to draw sellout crowds, fans have latched onto her success to further divide players along racial lines.
Yeah, and that's facts. And that's facts. And shout out to this article. That was a good article. Pretty good article from basketballnetwork.net by Adele Ahmad. Shout out. And we also got one more article to look at. And that is for the New York Post 4 hours ago. WNBA great Sheryl Swoopes speechless over Caitlin Clark white privilege question. Now let's go ahead and analyze this article and see what Sheryl Swoopes got to say about this.
WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes had an interesting reaction to Caitlin Clark's Time Athlete of the Year interview, in which the Fever star said she is aware of her white privilege and she wants to use her platform to uplift Black players. During Tuesday's installment of the Gills Arena podcast, Swoopes was speechless and she shrugged her shoulders when co-host Josiah Johnson mentioned that Clark said the league was mostly built on the shoulders of Black players, such as Swoopes, one of the original players signed to the WNBA when league launched in 1996. Your thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate Black women in the WNBA that have obviously been instrumental in building that league to what it is? Johnson asked. Swoopes, who has been in the middle of, and sometimes the source of, many of Clark's controversies, nodded her head during an awkward silence. Someone who was not captured on camera was heard laughing before Johnson said, "Okay."
She laughed because, I mean, she's probably taken by surprise. I know I was. Not a lot of people are honest these days. So, when you actually, it throws you off. You know what I'm saying?
Swoopes began talking again when they moved on to another topic. She explained that she wasn't surprised Clark, the #1 pick in this year's WNBA draft, who was named to the All-Star team and won the Rookie of the Year, was named the Time Athlete of the Year. "I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were, but the fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, it's pretty special," Swoopes said. "And my question is the criteria, is it based off her performance on the court? Yeah.
Or is that based off of skin tone? You see what I'm saying? So, and that's another thing that Megyn Kelly ignored. She ignored the fact that, hey, Time Magazine, why is, okay, if it's not racism toward, why is she up there now first? Sheryl Swoopes was hooping back in 1996. Why Time Magazine was out there, and why ain't they got her on it?
She has a great year. Or was it more about the impact that she had on the game this season? I think it's great. Not just for her. I think it's great for the league. Everybody talked about recognition that she brought to the W this season. So for her to be Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, I think it's really great for the league. Swoopes, a 3-time MVP, won 4 straight championships as a member of the...
Y'all didn't see that. I lost where I was for a second. We back, though. We back. Usually I like reading these, but I'm going to go ahead and let this do what it do, because my throat kind of hurts right now.
Houston Comets from 1997 to 2000. She also won 3 Olympics gold medals with USA Basketball. Clark, in her interview, told Time, "I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there's privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing." Clark, 22, doubled down on her comments while on stage at a Time dinner in New York City at Current in Chelsea Piers on Wednesday. The WNBA star explained that she's good at blocking things out when she was asked about Megyn Kelly's criticism over her comments about white privilege. Earlier this year, Swoops faced backlash for previous comments she made about Clark when she questioned the legitimacy of Clark's all-time scoring record at Iowa and falsely claimed she had a fifth year to break it during a separate episode of the Gills Arena podcast. Swoops previously denied that she has anything against Clark and has complimented her game. The WNBA legend also said Clark fans have acted evil toward her.
Oh, now that I can guarantee is accurate. So yeah, I mean, so hey Megan, if you're gonna go out here and say that you don't have privilege, when the whole thing of privilege is her being able to become a Time Magazine Athlete of the Year this year, finally now first. That kind of ruins your bitching about your whole point here, you know?
Too popular, you're too talented, and too white. That's it.
Well, I think
I don't care what you think because you've been silent the whole time. Now, what I gotta say about this whole situation is kudos to Caitlin Clark for stating the obvious. And don't be letting people tell you that, oh, it's okay to mention how they're being prejudiced or racist against, but they don't give you the full story, you know, like kind of like what Ms. Megyn Kelly just did here. You know, she had no problem breaking down the trials and tribulations that Caitlin Clark is facing for, you know, her skin tone, but when it comes to looking at the opposite side of the spectrum, she's incapable of doing that. And I'm glad that I'm able to show you, highlight this, and it's been a great time, but we must end this. So, yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this situation. Is Caitlin Clark wrong for coming out saying this? Is Megyn Kelly right? Let me know what you think. But make sure you hit that like and that sub. And like always, that'll be the it for this one. And deuces.